See it?
Yep, you're live.
Kind. Hey, what is this?
Episode 66.
We've been away a while.
Yeah.
Episode 66 of the Wide Awake in Babylon podcast. I'm your host, Chris. We got Wally. We got Isaac. Tom will be here shortly. He's gallivanting around, picking up things that are necessary. So he'll be showing up shortly. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving, that you got to hang out with family and friends, and it wasn't all about politics and the state of the world. That maybe, there was some nice exchanges, right? Well, you can only hope, right? You can always hope for that. Yeah, it's like, have some nice exchanges. I took my mom and my two sisters, and we went to California. Stopped in Sedona for a couple nights because neither of them had been there. So,
how was Sedona during that time of year?
Interesting. Sedona's an interesting place.
It's kind of.
I mean, you can definitely get into the whole of it.
Crystal infused coffee.
Or you can just kind of be quiet and just feel the place. Yeah, and those power spots, those vortexes, that's actually a real thing. There's really something there.
I remember when we all went down, what was that last year? And that canyon was pretty wild.
Yeah.
You just got to sit in for a while.
Yeah, we had an Airbnb next to one of them, and it supposedly was one of the more powerful ones there, so I read anyway. And it was wild because there's static electricity in the air, like a lot of it. Like I was pulling the sheets off the bed at the Airbnb in the morning because that's what they want you to do, strip the bed. I went to strip it, and I have never had static electricity hurt. I mean, it was it was actually painful. I'm like, wow, this is intense. So, there's definitely something about all that. These little spots where energy can kind of meets and it turns into like a little swirl. I think they're probably all over the place, really.
Yeah.
To me, one that really feels like a power spot more than any other place I've ever been. Machu Picchu, yes, but I think it's just the way they do the tourism there. Like you're really not allowed to go anywhere by yourself, so you don't really get to sit alone in a spot and really kind of
soak it in.
Yeah, I mean that might throw it off a little bit. I mean, yeah, Machu Picchu is astounding, but to this day, the place that has always had my heart is Mesa Verde. Yeah. That's a power spot for me. Sitting on that mesa, staring into that canyon. You just see the bands of energy just rising and falling, and that peace, that kind of timelessness, that kind of, you're occupying your body, but you're also occupying 50 feet on each side of your body. You're just kind of you're in the canyon, if you will, like fully present in it. It's always done that to me. No matter, I've been there 1,000 times. Still, it's the place that I always, if I need to rejuvenate, like remember what your journey is, not get caught up in a bunch of other things. Yeah, that's a good place to go restore it. I think that's really what the power spots, were intended for, or what they probably were used for if they were used by ancients. Was, okay, my brain's a little scrambled. I'm really uncertain about all this certainty I'm feeling, right?
Yeah.
Deep down there's uncertainty, behind all this emotional certainty. And you kind of get a little discombobulated, feel energy leaking out. You go to a place like that and just sit, right? And it's like, I don't know, spirits of the area. I mean, that's the language I like because that's the world that I've chose to, that's the understanding of the world I've chose to have. The planet has spirits, lots of them running around, some good, some bad, some very, very, very beautiful ones that will teach you things. In a place like that, they just seem to be in abundance. Like sitting there, you feel like you're learning something.
Mm-hmm. I think we all learned a lot on that trip.
Yeah. And it's abstract, but it's fulfilling, which really is the indicator that you're onto something, right? That walking away, watching that sky do that weird stuff, the crows following you down the path, right? No one around but you because everybody's gone for the evening. There's just something about that just really, really sets the soul back on a trajectory. Lets it come forward a little bit and kind of school the you've been being, which might not be the best version of you all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, to have that kind of place where you can really focus in on, okay, allow the soul to come forward. Let it communicate with spirit, whatever you want that to be, whatever that is for you.
I kind of feel like nature does that in general, but there are spots that do it more than others.
I would imagine that nature itself, the trees, the animals, the clouds, the whole thing, the whole scenery out in front of you, it wants you to be better.
Yeah.
It's like it knows you as you truly are, which you might be completely,
Oblivious to.
And it tries to encourage that in you. Right? I think that's, one of the important parts of doing a dieta in the jungle. Right? Yes, you're digesting plants, for whatever it is they've got you on the plants for, but the nature aspect of it too. You're in it for 30 days by yourself. There's no distractions really.
I think that's the biggest part of the diet is the fact that you don't have all these normal distractions that you're used to in your everyday life.
Right.
You can distract yourself if you want to.
You can go for hikes. You can go to the hot springs. You can do all kinds of things.
Keep your face in a book the whole time, too, if you want to.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
I did read quite a bit, but it was like a few hours a day, which, in 24 hours of nothing, the reason, So I kept it to a minimum. I could tell if I was trying to avoid something by reading because I wouldn't remember what I read. It's like, okay, you read that paragraph 3 times and you made no sense of it all 3 times. Yeah, you're not really supposed to be reading right now. So I put the book down and suddenly something, from a past experience comes up that's like, have you really resolved this? No, well, intellectually I've resolved this. Mentally, yeah. Even emotionally, yeah. But you start to notice the nuances of the scrambles, the parts of your energy that are out of configuration, if you will, that are a little off. And you could the thing that nags at you, the thing that drives you down to do a dieta in the first place, right? It's like you can scrap a lot of it, but the root is still there, So, and that's, I think that's why doing a dieta for any less than, 30 days is kind of a waste of time. Because you get dialed in about 2 weeks to actually get to see that nuance that you've been missing because everything else has been cleared out. So you've just got that nuance to look at, right? Like what makes you fidget, what makes you suddenly get shaky, right? And it's kind of interesting because you're just sitting there. And when you're just sitting there, it's not like nothing's happening. Thoughts are popping up. Past experiences are popping up. People that you don't even remember interacting with, or suddenly those memories are just a flood in your brain. And you're looking at them and you're having emotional reactions to it. You're doing all that. It's to be able to be in a space and, nature being, yeah, figure that out. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, look at that. It's like, yeah, check that out. Check this out. Right? Like really kind of leaning in on you to really pursue clarity in yourself. Because, if we don't figure it out, nature's dead.
Yeah.
All of it, at least on this planet, it's gone. And to me, that's spooky. I kind of wondered when I was a kid if humanity would get to a place where, okay, this is enough for a while. Now let's explore something else. Yeah, we've all got electricity. Let's try to make it cheap as possible for everybody. Let's try to make sure that everybody has some decent food. Let's explore something other than power and control and more money and, putting crap in food and, lying to people about medical procedures and pills and the whole thing. It's like, this is not.
It's just gotten more intense.
Okay. Yeah. And it's like, okay, it was interesting because Trump gets elected and it's weird. It's like, why is everybody breathing this sigh of relief? This is not a time to have a sigh of relief. You're in the most dangerous time humanity's ever been in, right? With this guy in office. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's disruptive, very disruptive, and it's going to continue to be. And what does it disrupt? Well, you have to think outside of your own little bubble. This disrupts the relationships we have with other countries. This could disrupt whether or not we get products from other countries, whether there's an exchange of resource, whether our money is actually going to be taken by them anymore. All these things are sitting on that table, right? And I think everybody probably just, if you could take my advice, go out and sit in nature for a while, get this stuff off of you, because it causes far too much anxiety, and there's nothing you can do about it anyway. It's like what George Carlin used to say. That the elite, it's one giant club, and you ain't in it, right? And 99.99% of us are in it, right? But we're subject to the will and the movement and the development of them. I mean, look how much influence Bill Gates has had on our health, right? On vaccines, on all kinds of things, and some shady shit overseas as well. India, he pulled some shit there. I don't want to go into it because I don't know the exact details, but he pulled some shit there. He's in trouble over there. But he's allowed to influence our society. Elon Musk is allowed to influence our society in a way, and it's not that he shouldn't be allowed to, because that's taking away people's rights. It's that the mass of people it's like they're just looking for a hero to pick.
Yeah, we're so easily influenced.
Right. That if we listen to this guy's podcast, then we're in the know. We're active somehow, but not really. You know what I mean? It's like you can't vicariously live through anyone. Right? And just this talk of like celebrity talk all the time. You're vicariously living through the events of someone else's life.
Well, look at the most popular TV out there is like Kim Kardashian's.
Mm-hmm. And I know the people who would find themselves listening to this podcast. Welcome, Tom.
Hi, thanks.
He's back.
Yeah.
Probably aren't spending any time watching the Kardashians.
No.
At all. We might be talking to an audience we don't have.
Right? Talking to the air.
Good point. Yeah.
And ultimately, the topic that I thought would be interesting is to explore what freedom, liberation, salvation, whatever you want to call that, healing, what does this actually look like? And how would you actually know if you're there or not?
There's one metric I heard recently that's good with
What's that?
Well, there's this stuff called trauma that comes up in life, and there's these behaviors that go with it. And if there's some part of your life that was traumatic or messed up, and you're now in a place that you could never, ever go back to that, that's a sign you've done some healing. It's like, oh my God, I could never go back and do that again. It's like, okay, then that might be clear. Or the other one I have that's my own just personal things is like, I'm around somebody that's the way I used to be, and if they're really triggering to me, it means I've got a ways to go still. It's like, oh God, this guy's really annoying the shit out of me. It's like, well, why? It's like, because I haven't healed that part enough yet. And that's a good indicator for me. So those are a couple.
Do you ever think there's, in part of the healing, there needs to be confrontation?
Well, all of it. It's you're confronting yourself. It's confronting your own identity, confronting your own bullshit, your own made up stuff, your own mind, your own thoughts about everything, your self-importance, your self-righteousness, all that stuff over and over again. Go, oh God, I thought I was good, and now I just found out I got more to do.
Yeah. I think that goes on a lot longer than anybody wants to admit to.
And thank goodness, because if it was like, oh, you just do this 12-week program and then you're cured and you're good for the rest of your life, what's the point of life after that? Actually, there's always more.
Yeah,
and it's not because we're so terribly broken. It's that there's so far to go that us humans haven't actually reached yet.
Right. And we're being exposed to things that were never in our existence.
Well, there's that, too. There's a whole bunch of psyops on our coming after us, too.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be that, the only thing people were really cognizant about in the 50s was pretty much what was going on in their neighborhood. That's it. It didn't go much further than that. And now with the internet, you got everybody commenting about worldly events on a regular basis.
Like we know anything about
like anybody knows anything. Yeah, it gets a little old. It's like that and I think misogyny is one of the worst fucking things in the world. Absolutely. And I find it disgusting. I'm not saying that, if you're being disrespected by a woman, you don't stand your ground, obviously. But yeah, it's just kind of like they could be bought and sold and traded and all that. I mean, and we're well aware of that. And I would love to see like conversations about how, not how you can get other people to stop it, but more like how do you recognize that within yourself when it's happening? But the thing that you see on the internet a lot now is the opposite of that, misandry.
What's that?
There's just a lot of man bashing. And it's all of this is coming from, it's more like vitriolic than anything else.
It is.
It's like a venting, and I get it, but I kind of wonder that, do you people really believe what you're saying right now? That men are the cause of all the problems. It's like, for one, there's more than one kind of man in the world, right? And are you sure you're referring to men instead of boys who refuse to grow up? Because I think that's what they're referring to, but then they need to point that out because social media just becomes noisy, right? I could see where it could be an element for good, but it just is noise. It just gets noisy to where you just don't want to participate. It's like because there's gonna be some conflict, some kind of exchange that's gonna probably go sideways, kind of thing. And it's just watching how this culture it relies on being fed things other than expressing things into the world. Right? A lot of expressions that I've heard from people are them expressing what they've heard or what they've seen or who they know or what this person's doing, a lot of that. But rarely is it like what they've discovered for themselves. You know what I mean?
I absolutely do. And I think the attack on men or masculinity and all this stuff is even a bigger agenda, which is attack on family. That the family has been attacked at all different levels by all these different factors that are and somewhat planned. And if you take down the protector of the family, the male, that one that is the protector,
it started in the 80s.
Then you've taken away, and you've made it illegal to stand up as a man. Then you've suddenly you've breached the household to where the state can come in or whoever the actors are that wish to take down wholesome, stable families that are doing well and raising healthy kids and are becoming healthier adults to raise those healthy kids. Yeah. Fuck. Hey, I just got out of the car with a long-ass podcast with some cool dudes that I know that were just going into all this stuff about homeschooling and stuff. So I'm on fire right now.
You're on fire with the homeschooling. Well, I kind of think that if I were, I'm just going to put this into a conspiracy. Okay, here's I might develop a conspiracy theory that the church that kind of rose up, not really about Jesus at all, right? It's this whole other thing, right? Rose up, but they were afraid of the women. I think because the women were still are closer to what is creating us than we are. They somehow have an extra connection to life itself that men just don't have. They're kind of dumb. I will give women that. Men are kind of, most of them I know, it's like, you see them, you're doing all right. And then out of nowhere, it's like, what the hell are you doing? This is retarded. Why are you acting like a retarded fool right now? And I'll actually say that to them. I'll let my friends know when they're being retarded fools. Because, it's like, when you feel like being a retarded fool, go lock yourself in your room and cry it out, buddy. No one has to watch. No one has to know. But you better go get it done. Because you look like a fool. Figure out what this playing is. But I think ultimately the church was afraid of women. And I think women were standing their ground. And the fact that women actually have a power, and in any household you've ever been in, most of them, there's always that asshole dude that thinks it's my house, bullshit, doesn't share. But most of the houses I've ever been in, it's the mom that runs it. The matriarch is kind of the one you defer to, and when she says jump, you don't even bother to ask how high. You jump the highest you can. That to me has always been my experience.
Yeah,
but
when your mom comes to visit, she assumes that role immediately.
She's watching this. Careful. She's going to call in.
She knows. Oh, yeah, please do. Sonny, we want you to come sit sometime.
But so what I think is, so they dominated the women. You know, did it have to be everyone? No, it just had to happen enough.
Though? How do they dominate the women?
Subjected them. You are a subject of your husband.
Oh.
Did you know that there were a time in America, right, in this great land of ours, where you could take your wife to a place like Porter Langley, and you could basically tell them she isn't behaving, and they would give her shock therapy.
They would give her what?
Shock therapy. Okay. Yeah, you actually had, like, it was weird. It was kind of like you had ownership. And there was a lot of that going on, right? And a lot of that was definitely in the people really participating with that were the very pious religious following the church, not the teachings of Jesus, the church. Right? We know they're separate. We know they're different things, right? One is usurping power, and the other one's showing you your own. Yeah, we know which one's doing which. But anyway, so what they do is they rally up the women. Why? Because men follow women. There's no doubt about it. Wherever the women go, the men go. That's true with the deer. That's true with the dog. That's true with the rabbit. It's true with the primates. It's true with the primates, us. Right? Us Homo sapiens, we're not exclusive, and we don't have that. Yes, we do. So men follow women. Well, that's how you get them in. So you turn the women into subservient, right? And then you basically scare the men, right, to keep the women in line. They become subservient, right? And then, so what ends up happening? Okay, so then you reverse this. Now let's go after men, right? And we will kind of create an environment where the women will be on our side, and let's crush the masculine. And then feminine has no protection. And we can get to life, the thing we want to steal and take. Which, you know, people go, that's a conspiracy. That's my conspiracy theory. How real it is, it depends on who you are. I mean, you know, there's some people out there that it's very interesting that, you know, if I go on the internet, I'm looking for people who have had common experiences. And I find myself listening a lot to exorcists. Guys that perform exorcisms for the church, for, you know, there's a few of them there, and what they describe and what they see, you know, it's fascinating to me, right? Because in my experience with those things, I want to hear what someone else's experience of those things are, how they're talking about it, how they're going about, like, informing people of the things that could influence you, right? And that. It's from what I understand within myself. I don't understand this for anyone else. I don't pretend this is the truth, then you must follow it. There is a intent here that is less than holy. It is actually quite nefarious, ominous, and dark. And its intentions are, let's just say they're not aligned with humans' idea of what a good life is, right? And they're playing very hard. They infect people on a regular basis. Regular. It's, you know, like you were talking about. We were talking about before we started the podcast, seeing these shadows running around. It's like, yeah, they're on fire right now, right? I don't know why, but, you know, I've seen these things all my life, but they're very active now, right? How do you see them? It's like there's really no way to understand that. There's no, like, technique to see them. You just have to be open to what's real. And when you feel something and you see something, you don't just chalk it up to just whatever that was. No, you look at it. You look into it. You see if you can follow it to see what is this thing, right? And that's not interesting to most people, and I understand that. It shouldn't be, because it doesn't make for a great life full of entertaining. You know, TV suddenly gets real boring when you see, at times your life is on the line when you're kind of messing with these things. They can hurt you, right? They can actually hurt you. If you're in compliance with their intent, that nasty intent, whether you're aware of it or not, you may be in compliance with it, right? You're never going to feel anything. It's only going to be thoughts that creep into your head, and that does it because you're already kind of compliant. It's when you refuse to be compliant and you take all those thoughts of self-doubt, of the you don't deserve this, guilt, shame, all of it. That's why I think healing needs to happen first. You have to find out the source of guilt in you, the source of shame in you, the source of fear, anxiety, depression, this ability to be in despair. Find out what is actually true about this in you. Because you won't stand a chance out in the world with that not resolved. Because so many thoughts are going to come at you. And you can tie thoughts together, and you can tie situations in your life to thoughts that suddenly make your life a mess. Right? You can just start free associating around the things, and pretty soon, it's a big mess. Right? And then you'll find that most of those people are going to be looking at everything outside of themselves and only notice themselves when it's painful. Right? Notice how they are in all of this. Right? How they're being in all of this. How they're being on a day-to-day basis in all of this. Is it tough to maintain a high level of energy and presence and awareness all the time? Yeah. It's called being a human. You don't have full access. So what access you do have, you should probably use wisely. Right? And there's times where you're going to feel defeated. Absolutely. And then you'll dust yourself off. You'll stand up and you will have learned something. You won't know it while you're feeling defeated. But when you see it again, you know that move. You know how it triggers you. You know what it's going for. And when they're entities of some kind. Maybe of many kinds. They do exist. Whether anybody wants to believe it or not is kind of irrelevant. They do exist. As far as I know, as far as I've seen, what I've experienced, right, in my own life. It's not I saw it on a guy. No, I deal with this regularly. It's just out of nowhere. And it's weird because you can get rid of the smaller ones easily, right? They're like the pawns on the chessboard. Right? Those are just kind of the little naggy, the stupid little things you do that you ought not to, and then you change your behavior and you get over it. Pretty simple, moving through the steps. And then comes the bigger jumps, right? It's not a step in front of you. It's a leap. And yeah, it's a pretty deep hole you could fall into if you miss the mark, so to speak. Right? So when you're on those moments where you're truly connected, that's the time to really look into all the things that you still feel weak in. Right? It's not the time to celebrate. Right? There's other times for that. But a good chunk of your good feeling should go to looking at how you sink so low. Because that doesn't feel good to anybody. It may be easy to forget the feeling of it once it's gone. Right? You'd probably get away with a lot, no ramifications. That doesn't mean anything. You're still going to feel it. Right? So it's about, you got to allow yourself to really, really understand what your hang-ups are first before you go delving into the world around you. It's just not wise. Especially now. 30 years ago, yeah, fine. In the 80s, fine. In the 90s, fine. In the 2000s, 2010s, fine. But now, no, it's a pretty cutthroat world out there. There's a lot of judgment being thrown around. Right? There's a lot of hatred for one group of people against another. There's a lot of rules people are trying to make over others. It's just, society's not in a good place, right? Which would mean that most of the citizens probably aren't in a good place. Let's just face it. And no one wants, people don't like hearing that. Like, no, people are fine. I'm like, they're pretending. And I know that to be true. They're pretending. You see the anxiety on them. Spend 2 hours with anybody, you'll see it, right? They'll come in like everything's great. 2 hours later, they're talking, they're finally get to the place where they can tell you that their current relationship they're in is fucking psychotic and they can't handle it. And that they're just barely holding together. Well, that's not what you presented for the first hour, right? I mean, when we want to get to know somebody, then we should get to know them. And if we're going to have anything to say about somebody, we better know them, right? Otherwise, we're playing with ideas that give us emotional kind of a game to play within ourselves, but we don't actually look at our own things, right? We get upset that Trump won. We get upset at this, at that, at this, at that, at the gender fight, at the race fight, at this, at that, at this. Everybody's got an opinion about everything. But what about you? What's your opinion of yourself? Are you just here, just surviving? Getting through it? I mean, there's other things happening besides all of that. But if you've got any of these negative entities on you causing depression, anxiety, resentment, and feeling like you need to go be secluded and locked away, hiding basically, or just, taking any drug you possibly can, trying to fornicate as much as possible. If you're doing any of that, you probably got some work to do, because it's like, those are never the path to well-being, right? Ever. They never will be, right? And that's, if we don't understand how easily influenced we are and how we distract ourselves, then it'll always be for sale. I mean, the distractions are never not going to be for sale. There's never going to be a time where this stuff that ruins you isn't going to be marketed to you.
They're everywhere.
It's everywhere. It has invested.
If you really look, it's everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Now you look and, and are there people trying to make things happen to sway, maybe help people out? Yeah, but they're not being empowered by anybody. You know what I mean? It's like, you want to have like a little place where people can come and work out their stuff without, feeling like they're being judged, then yeah, you're not going to get any support for that.
It still takes people a while too, even when they have the opportunity to be up at a place where they can be somewhere and go through their stuff without being judged. It takes them a while to get that courage, just let other people see them and just go through it. People are afraid to not be okay sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I
mean, I found that, when I'm absolutely in a place that I would call freedom, it's not like, I'm just sitting in the house, but I'll feel it. And when I feel that, it kind of expands what I'm aware of, what I'm actually conscious of, to where I can, maybe, you can call it imagination, call it whatever you want. If it brings energy, it's good for you. I mean, good energy to you, then why wouldn't you do it? I'll sit there and I'll kind of notice like a little nebula galaxy somewhere out there. I'll just poke my head in, interact with some people, and come back. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. But it doesn't happen in a state of despair, worry, doubt, fear, shame, anger, feeling hurried and busy, right? It happens when you can kind of let go of the identity that needs to be busy, because if it's not real. And just be what's like looking out of the eyeballs prior to the identity. Just being that. That's the thing that taps into everything, right? And it's like, we're afraid of being that. Just the thing looking out of your eyeballs, right? Yeah, it's going to interact, probably more humanely than the identities will, right? It might even acknowledge you. Hi. Right? Pull you into a space. Right? There are things afoot in the universe and on this planet, in the energy field, that are fucking phenomenal. I'm very, very, let's put it this way, they turn the evolutionary pressure we're all feeling into like fuel for and momentum. It turns into momentum. And you'll know it, because those things will come after you like they've never come after you before. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, because I always, after spending time with Carlos and him showing me what a flyer is, right? Don Juan writes about the flyers, the mud shadows. It's a mud shadows chapter in The Active Side of Infinity was where they really talk about it, focus on it for the chapter. And, and even seeing them is just, I always wanted to relegate that to my imagination. Plant medicine has definitely shown me there's reality to it. But what I found interesting is it won't reveal to you the level of power those things actually have. Right? I mean, because there's nights that anybody who's participated in medicine and was doing it for real had the rough night. Where just, oh, what the fuck is this? You're just like, oh my God, I'm being invaded, just by all this shit and all these faces and that kind of thing, And I mean, it was then that I recognized that these things are real. And then it was for a while, they're only real in a ceremonial space. Right? So only when you're in ceremony do these things show up. Because they're easy to see there. When you feel it, you can feel the terror that they bring when they come in. Or when they come around, or when, they're coming out of you, especially. That's really rough. But in your daily life, you don't notice them at all. But they're there, influencing thoughts, influencing actions, influencing conflict consistently and never stopping.
What do you think that is?
It's interesting because I think they've always been here. And, this is, it's not a well fleshed out thought, so I'm just going to throw it out there. When society stopped using plants, they kind of lost their ability to understand what that was and keep it at bay so they could make progress instead of just constantly trying to put out fires. Right? I mean, it's kind of like, when Don Juan talks about the flyers, he talks about you have an energy field and that attracts them. The light of that attracts them and they want to consume that. Right? But they only consume it down to your ankles, leave a little bit of it left. So it'll build back to be consumed again. It's like, how many times do you want to go through this? And if you look at like addiction, it's the same thing, right? You do it until your energy's so low that you probably shouldn't do it. And then your energy gets back up and you go back to doing it again until your energy's low. I mean, it's an addictive cycle. People do that with shopping. They do it with TV. They do it with business. They do it with anything, really. It's not specifically a junkie, because junkie's a word to describe a good chunk of the population, junkies, right? Junking for consumption. I mean, there's consumption junkies all over the place. I mean, we live in the mountains. You see how many people drag a fucking mansion up the hill to go sit in the woods for a day. We like to consume things. We like to have things, which is an addiction in itself, really. And is it a useful addiction for people who don't want to know the truth? Yes. But, that's the scary thing about letting the soul come forward. It shows you the truth of you. And it shows you there is no truth to who you think you are. There is no truth to what anybody thinks you are. The truth is how you feel right now at this moment. That's the truth. And not what emotion you're having. How you feel. What is that energetic presence, well-being, awareness, will, free and your own, and an intention towards what it is your trajectory is. And I don't think any human being should be coming up with an intention from their mind or their identity. I think they should seek to unearth that gem that the soul is buried somewhere inside of their brain. That it's more of a discovery than it is a fixing something. Right? Because once you discover the value of what's looking out of your eyeballs and what it's actually capable of, you'll have far more respect for it And you won't let identities decide what's going to happen with it. Right? Because plenty of people's identities have ruined them. Right? I mean, I know I've played with identities that could have possibly ruined me. I'm pretty sure you have too, and you have, definitely.
Me?
Well, you too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This
is a reform school we have here.
I wanted to be included.
You know? So see, it's like, do you guys have a healing center? No, we have a reform school. It's a reform school.
For difficult students.
Right. Well, for people that aren't going to get it through the namaste and through the chakra cleansings and through, like Reiki and, just all the stuff that's out there, and massage and psychosomatic integration and whatever all that is, there are some people that have it inside of them to really discover that gem in them, which is connection to the soul. It's when the identity lays down its defenses and lets the soul reign. Right? And there's a lot of people that, they might not put it in those terms. They could have their own language around that. That never really matters. If it's real, you feel it. If it's real in someone, you can definitely feel
noticeable.
it. But it was a place where you just do you do you, right? There is no you must behave this way, you must say these things, you must eat this food. No, you do you. It's like if you're making if they're somewhat challenged, maybe make them aware of you got to make your own choices in life, right? That you can't rely on anybody to make your choice clear for you.
You wouldn't want to. You shouldn't want
right.
to.
And, that to me is some of the danger. And I think a lot of these guys from South America don't understand the Westerner as much as they might think they do. And so a lot of shit happens in the plant medicine community. And it's not that the shaman's bad. Like I've said, Peru is one of the most misogynistic places I have ever fucking been. Right? And it's part of their culture. It's part of their shamanism too. That's just the truth of it. There's very few women serving medicine in the jungle. There's plenty of them singing in ceremonies. Young ones, very young ones, groomed for it, so to speak. But there's very few women actually have a center and serving medicine. More and more of that's happening, which is amazing. Yeah. I think that's amazing because, there's nothing beats that feminine. There's just nothing. You want to talk about a deep connection to the mother? Well, that would be a woman, right? So, there's that, and there have been some very phenomenal ones. But, even then, like Mother Olivia, right? She got shot in the chest by a Canadian guy because she refused to teach him. And, because he was on tons of psych meds and he lied and said he wasn't. She knew he was. And he shot her in the chest. They went back to his hotel room and found them all. But, regardless that, how would I put this? That I think a well-seasoned Westerner, who has ties to, a curandero, who doesn't do too much nefarious shit, but not to emulate them and put them up on a pedestal, to translate what you've learned from that interaction, that relationship, into something useful for the Westerner. And for me, the thing that I've always found is people have to be themselves. They have to make their own choices. They have to make their own decisions. There is no way around that. And people who can pretend that they're giving good advice, you're a dangerous human being. That, it's like, I understand the way I look at it is you look for counsel, right? You don't, someone who will not take your life on for you. If you're really going to do this for real, that's the thing. And I think what Westerners need more than anything is a change of behavior, because their appetites are born out of their behaviors, right? And the more they behave a certain way, the larger the appetite grows for whatever it is that they're using for comfort, right? And, it's the connection to South America in that sense, in those tribal areas. It's not comfortable, right? So what you've learned from discomfort is what the Westerner needs. They don't need to go, oh my God, my shaman is so fantastic. He's magic. It's like, I don't think Enrique's magic at all. He's one of the most down-to-earth people I know, right? He comes into ceremony as one should, ready, and just bringing that light that protects you and serves you. During the day, it's just a guy, right? And, and I think that's what lacks in the United States is there's not a place where you can just go and be yourself. Right? A lot of these, medicine circles or, groups doing it. It's like there's this act going on. And it's like get down to the simple stuff like the natives do, like your ancestors probably did. They weren't about, oh, it's all love and light. It's all love and light. Life is a difficult thing. It's very difficult. It requires your attention. It requires your presence. It requires a high level of energy if you're going to do anything worthwhile in it. And that is so hard for people to find here. You can blame the education system. You can blame the financial system. You can blame pretty much a lot of things outside of yourself, which is fine. Blame away. But understand that you make your choices. They don't. Right? You decide what you're going to think. They don't. Now, if you allow them to think for you and you just go through henny penny the sky's falling because everything's is a big clusterfuck and about to fall apart, which a lot of people have that kind of narrative going, don't subscribe to that. Right? I mean, this is the time where humanity is being fucked with in ways that we can't even really fathom. So it's time to go within. Right? And understand from that point, yeah, of course, the identity is going to be scared, absolutely fucking terrified. It is going to feel pain. It's going to feel sorrow, sadness, fear, manipulation. It's going to have a whole lot of superstitious shit going on, magical thinking things are coming after them. Absolutely. It's filled to the brim with that. But that has to be purged. So you can live within yourself and hear within yourself, not from anyone else, within yourself, the guidance that's always there. And what makes people nervous? They're not following the guidance, of course. They pretend to be confused about what it is, so they don't have to do it. Right? They can just go around and ask questions, pretending they're confused, when they know what they feel. How could you not? You're feeling it. Right? So there has to be, skin in the game. You have to reclaim your connection to your soul. Dropped it in the weeds in there. And 10 million thoughts grew up around it, hard to find. But it's in there. Right? Which connects you directly to what is making you currently. Well, let's just say it connects you to the thing that was made by what is animating you currently. Right? There is a being made of the five senses, for sure. And the only thing it answers to is the life within. Right? You get tingling in the fingers, that's coming from the inside. You get pain down the leg, that's coming from the inside. It's all coming from within. Right? And it's a violent resistance to knowing the truth about yourself. What are you? Well, you may find that beyond all the clutter of identity and letting the pure presence, the soul, come forward to inform you, You may have a bigger fucking chunk on your plate than you would even imagine of what it is yours to do. Yeah, the fear of that will make you ignore it like the plague. The overwhelm. No one handles that all that well, right? The overwhelm. I've learned to breathe. When you feel overwhelmed, just breathe, right? Maybe you'll get enough breath in you that you float like a balloon, and that overwhelming will be a little underwhelming. Not that it's not on you anymore, it's just not as heavy as you're making it, right? I mean, there's a relationship in humans that needs to be cured. It's between them and themselves, between them and what is animating them. They're not doing that. There's something else doing that. What is the great animator of the human? There's the boss. Therein lies the prime directive. There's God, if you will. It's not an angel. It's not a thing that comes to visit you. It is you. But you have to purge the identity in order to do that. And, there's people that can do that for a time. Like present it in a way. Right? What really matters is when the camera's off you. Right? That's when it really matters. Because, that's when you really discover what it is you're actually afraid of. Right? And the overwhelm is real. Everybody's overwhelmed. It can be on a surface level of bills and food's too expensive and blah, blah, blah. But that overwhelm is being felt inside. Right? So it's a choice to be overwhelmed by it. It's a choice to just throw your hands up and go, I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing.
There was a quote I read today that really resonated with me. It was, I don't wish for a lesser weight. I wish for broader shoulders to carry it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really good.
Yeah. I mean, that to me is, it's the way you pay respect to the life you're living.
Yeah.
Right? It's the way you pay respect to what continues to animate you no matter how much you fuck it up. It's still there. It's still animating you. To me, that's an ode to that. That, can you make it easier on me? No, this isn't a DEI fucking world. As much as you want it to be, it's not. This is a fucking dog-eat-dog world. So I ask to be stronger, not keep me safe. I've never asked for safety. I've never asked for safety. Dear Lord, keep me safe. I have never said that. I just did. But I've never said that before. I'm like, oh, God, help me get through this. Whatever this is, I feel discombobulated and at odds with myself, and I'm afraid about what I might do. So you got to step in and fucking show me something. And I sit and wait. I often refuse to get up because no, I'm off the chain. That's not good. Let's let this fucking play out inside of me, for me, by me. Whatever the repercussions are, they're mine.
I've noticed lately when I really ask, like really feeling what I'm asking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, putting some intensity
I get some answers.
It's called skin in the game.
I don't always like them, but
I never like them because it means you have to do something.
Yeah,
and you have to do something, but you don't even know what that is. And you don't know how to go about doing it. But something's got to happen. So then you get to spend the next 6 weeks getting really discombobulated about what that actually is. Right? And I've watched you guys. It's fun. Yeah. I mean, there's just, I found over the years, there's people who will go part of the way. But the whole way, they're fewer and far between. They're fewer people. To go the whole way, like you're going to actually go through this suffering prior to the great suffering, is pretty, voluntarily. Most people are going to wait until it's too late. And they're just going to have to. It's like I'd rather choose to suffer than be forced to. Right? Because if I choose it, I can choose it for a time, deal with it, and then, okay. Now let me just go relax a little bit. I'll get back to that. But when you're forced to, there's no end to that until it's over. And who knows how long that could be. I think all of this, all of societies, their number one prerogative is to keep you from understanding what's looking out of your eyeballs. To keep you away from having a relationship with what's looking out of your eyeballs. The thing that keeps you from having a free enough will to configure this energy of this person you're going to walk around on the planet with what's looking out of your eyeballs. And that if you attempt it, we're coming after you. Right? If you attempt to true freedom, you make that move, they're going to kill you. They're most likely. I kind of wonder, it's like, oh, that's how you get out of here. They kill you. That you just be yourself as much as you to the fullest extent, the full presence of your life force in you. You go out and shoot off your mouth. You go out and interact with people, and, eventually someone's going to go, that guy needs to die. Right? Well, Bob Marley had to die. Jesus had to die. Gandhi had to die. Right? And if they didn't die, they got locked up for a real long time. There is that. So it's like, oh, not allowed to be that person here. Right? And I think a lot of people have that kind of fear. What's the religious fear? Oh, we're not allowed to, explore our consciousness. I've heard that from people. It's satanic to explore consciousness. So it's satanic to explore the gift given to you by what's looking out of your eyeballs. It's putting the thoughts in your head about, dimensions beyond, what heaven might be, what hell might be. You don't really need that. But it goes on. This is a very wild little place we're in. But inevitably, the ride of life you're on, you don't need anyone to tell you about it. You're in it. You're on it. It is you. Life is you living. That's it. There you go. What closer relationship do you need to it? Right? Maybe just value that relationship more than the car, more than the date, more than the likes on Facebook, more than the retreats. Make that a part of every day, because ultimately, I think we come to a time where if you don't have the protection, and what I call protection is you have direct connection through your soul because you're letting it operate and you're putting the identity down when it says to put it down. It's not that you don't have one. But when the soul steps forward, it's a crucial moment. This is a timing thing. You know how to lay all that down for what's necessary for your contribution to this whole thing we call life. Because the soul knows where your contribution is and when it should be happening. And you'll find, if you're really paying attention, it rises up in you. And then you just go away. And just whatever comes through you, it's fluid. It has no issues. It's just great. Right? And you had nothing to do with it. And to me, it's like that is the ultimate feeling, that something is happening through you that no identity you have could even touch. That's awesome. That to me is a soul active. It's almost like, for me, it seems like it's the soul recognizing you, that you are willing to lay down the identity for what's true and what's right, that you will go forward with, the pungency that what's making you gives you to move forward into something and actually engage, right? Be of service. It's the only thing worthwhile. There is nothing else I find that's really all that worthwhile, right? To let the soul do its work. What does that feel like? Bliss, man. It's not that you're cloistered and you're in your perfect environment and nobody bothers you. No, you get to flow through this world and know where you're meant to be in it. What situation you're meant to be in, which one you're not. Because people who are confused about what situation they're supposed to be in, they're in all kinds of situations. And there's no real attention on any of them. Right? I mean, be single-minded. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're going to put the soul in focus, be single-minded about that. It's like, well, don't worry about how you're going to do anything. You're going to do everything the way you've always done everything. that doesn't change. Like suddenly your faculties are gone because you just let your soul in. Matter of fact, it should make you far more pragmatic and a little more efficient than you're used to. Far more. And a little less prone to depression, to fucking states of low energy, to exhaustion. Not to say those things won't hit you. They will. You're in a war zone. Whether you think so or not, you are in a fucking war zone. You know, the spiritual war they say is going on in the heavens. You're in the heavens. Where do you think Earth is? It's in the fucking heavens. So it's going on. It's going on inside of people. You know, it's like I try to beat around that some, but I just can't anymore. I can see it. I see these things jump on people and ruin their day. And I said, what are you doing, Mary? What the fuck? Well, I mean, look at some of the behavior for some of the people we know. They're on an even keel. They're behaving well. And suddenly, what the fuck choice did you make? Right? And that's why, you know, for me, I'm adamant that, you know, if you're going to want to do this, you better have awareness. And you better really, really build that and put a lot of your energy and attention into fostering a stronger sense of awareness. Because you're going to have to be dealing with things afoot that if you truly want to understand yourself, well, then you're going to have to understand the unseen things that affect you too, aren't you? You're going to have to understand the things in you that are acting that you've never paid attention to. Right? And up here, it's easy to get into that. Because a couple of weeks, and you know, the first week in the mountain, I'm in heaven. This place is awesome. It's beautiful. In the dead of winter, and you haven't seen a soul in a few weeks. That's why you find all these broken men in the mountains with generators running, watching TV all day, right? Barely leaving their house, because it broke them. Because the mountains, to me, as far as like environments to learn, the mountains will burn you and beat you down probably more than any other place. It's not like the jungle. The jungle's like a soothing, like you're in the hospital and you got a really good nurse.
It's a little spooky though.
Spooky nurses, but yeah,
to it.
Yeah, there's a spookiness to it. But up here, it's just like pure fire, just burns you, right? Harsh. Yeah. In a couple of weeks of sitting here, nothing to do. Oh, all your demons come to play in your own head, baking your noodle, causing you to just get real odd, real awkward, real depressed, real down, real draggy. Real life doesn't have a purpose. I'm broke. The whole thing, right? It just takes you right there, right? And to me, it's like, well, because some people would say, well, you're not really helping them if things aren't getting better. It's like, no, I'm showing them what the real work is first. Helping them with it, we're years off. They got to see what it is first. You have to come to terms with your own fears about yourself. If you're afraid of you, which everyone kind of is afraid of themselves more than anyone else, they're afraid of pain in their body. They're afraid of indigestion. They're afraid of not sleep. I mean, there's so many fears, right? Well, yeah, that's if you don't recognize you have them and you have to become more mature, more aware, more courageous, more intelligent, more to free your will up from a bunch of bullshit to actually apply it to that. Right? That's the real work. But most people won't even dig down deep enough to find where it is. They just want this, I have a grimy layer on me, I just want it off. Okay, I'm shiny again. Okay, bye-bye. And yeah, God bless those people. That you have it, that's how you are. There's no problem with that. It's a big enough planet, big enough universe to incorporate all kinds of things. All degrees of whatever that freedom is. But then there's, I would say people like me, where I don't have my eye on any other prize. Not really. I mean, I'll go see music because it's fun. I'm going to take the wife out on Friday. We're going to have a great time. But, I mean, you guys know. Where's my fixation is on this in here, right? This in here and what it feels like up here. Right? What the mood is, what the energetic level of our place is. That to me are the two things that to develop a better relationship with my own soul. And yeah, it's cost me a lot. And it has been grueling and hard, no doubt. And have I let go of things that I would probably rather not have? Some, yeah, of course. But it's a value game you're playing. if you don't have a relationship with what's looking out of your eyeballs, how do you actually have value in anything? Right? You'll have a imagined value, a intellectual value on things, but no, not really. I mean, it's like we all say we value human life, but we all know there's a bunch of nefarious shit going on with kids, with women, with trafficking, and we're not going, yo, everybody together in unison to stand up and go, hey, before we give any more money to Ukraine, we need to fucking figure out what's going on here. Because I'm kind of certain they're tied together somehow. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's something that's tying those things together. And the immigrants coming back and forth. Something's tying this together. We need to find out what that is. Right? As a people. But that's so far off. It's just that people think we're going to, to me, if there's truly an awakening of a good nature, it's going to be we're going to start to pay attention to the problems. And we're not going to take our eyes off it until it's solved. Right? And one at a time. Not let's take on 10,000 things. What's the worst thing happening right now? Children and women. That's the worst thing that's happening right now. What's happening to them? I mean, you look at the stats, 600,000 children go missing in the United States every year. What the fuck? It's like, and nope, we don't, that's not something that we talk about human trafficking and that, but the impact of where it's really at has not really hit anybody. And if it doesn't hit you in the heart, it hasn't hit you yet. Right? If it only hits you, this needs to stop. Okay, great. That's nice. But it's the energy from the heart that actually will radiate out and create any kind of awareness around it. It has to hit you right where it hurts. Right? You have to be able to acknowledge the pain of that in order for you to not look away and actually do something about it. And do I think humanity's there? God, I wish they were. I mean, I know if it's like who's the first penguin off the iceberg? And are the rest of the penguins following suit? I mean, there's plenty of people out there doing good work, but they're just not heard, right? They're not supported. And most people are not paying attention to that. They pay attention to it when it's time to virtue signal. But ultimately, they don't pay attention to it. Yeah. It's like you really have your heart bleeding for Ukraine. Why don't you go over there and work in a soup kitchen? Put your heart in it. Not your fucking Facebook post. I'm tired of that shit. I think everybody should be tired of that shit. It's like a replacement for action, right? Which means you're externalizing your identity is so externalized. And you've got so much of your attention outside of yourself on this identity, interacting and all this stuff. You don't even know who you are anymore. You don't know the awareness behind this whole activity. The soul may as well just be a gas station at that point, right? Just a place for you to fuel up for more bullshit, right? And it's like, will it change the way you live? Yeah, drastically. Is that scary? Yeah, it is. Especially when you come to adore certain things in your world that need to be dissolved. Yeah, that's not pleasant. There's a lot of loss involved in actually allowing the soul to be what's alive, because it's the only thing that actually is. That which is animating you is what's alive, not your idea of yourself, not even really you. Not by your own accord, anyway. Not by your own power. And I think we were never meant to have these identities we have. Right? I think this is a game being played on us. Big time. And, AI and computers and all this stuff, I don't think you understand. I don't think people really actually understand these darker entities, what they have access to. I don't think they actually get it, what these things can climb into, how they can influence things. And I think we're going to find out. Inevitably, we want to find out. So here we go, down the primrose path, right? Who knows where it's going to land? I mean, maybe we wake up and change our trajectory. Maybe we understand that. Do you really want brotherhood of man? Is that really what you want? Do you really want peace? Do you really want understanding and an acceptance of other people's having different ideas than you? Is that okay? That they have different ideas, different beliefs, right? And to me, if they're trying to impose those beliefs on you, yeah, you should probably confront that, right? If they're trying to lie to you about what we're all paying for, then we need to confront that as a people, right? And the internet could be that if all the vitriol bullshit would just stop. But it's a lot of, what's the word? Self-inflating going on. And that's what you see a lot of. A lot of yoga poses. A lot of people offering you psychedelic therapy. Do you have a moment to pray with me? Come pray with me. Just for a moment. So you can pray with Mark Wahlberg now on an app. There's all kinds of things you can do now that you don't even have to be involved in. It's like, and I think it takes away from the adventure of your own life. I think ultimately it does. That what you're going to see on the internet is what you saw yesterday. More of the same. More fear mongering, right? More, this group sucks and this is why. And, the world's going to hell because Trump got elected. Oh, God, we're all got to leave now. He's going to kill us all. We're all going to get murdered now. All of that. It's just, it steals away from the adventure of your own life. It's like if you're one of those people online every 5 minutes posting some shit, stop. Just fucking stop doing that. Right? That nobody cares. You got to ultimately understand, no matter how many likes you get, that shit's going to be in and out of their brain. They just click like because they know you and want to support you. They don't actually agree with you at all, ever, never. And silently while they're liking it, fucking jerk. But you got to like it because that's your connection to these people. It's all fake. It's all fucking fake. Let's just all agree that everything online is fucking fake. The only thing that's not fake are buying plane tickets, concert tickets, emails, and actually communicating with one another. The rest of it's bullshit.
I think if there's more. There's more than that. After ultimatums get to me.
I think right, and I think if anybody watching this podcast has been watching it for a while, this is part of my dark humor. I don't actually mean these things. It's just part of my dark humor. Like when I say, if you live in a city, you're don't you feel like you're being retarded a little bit?
You can't tell though when you're in it. You have to get out of it to step back and go, oh shit. It's only when you stop watching sitcoms for 6 months and then you start to watch one again, you go, oh my God, what was I doing to myself?
I was in a cult. I didn't even know it.
When you step away, it's like, I watched so many Frasier episodes. I'm so shameful of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to go through my periods of disappointment in the human race.
Yeah.
When a narrative is thrown out there by a nefarious actor and everybody jumps on it and it becomes the fucking thing everybody talks about. That always bugs me. It's like, that's just, why? I mean, that has nothing to do with us.
I don't always spend so much time like focusing on those people that like, I don't know. I'm never going to know. We get so involved in like celebrities' lives. Like, I don't even know that person. I never will. Like, why do I care so much about what's going on in their life and who they're dating? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me, like at all. Like,
no, the Kardashians. I mean, all of it. I mean, we know these names though, right? And it's like, it's always being flashed in front of your face. You're going to talk to somebody who's not of the same pursuit as you, that is going to be fully engaged in the. So I know this guy. Won't say who it is because it's pretty close, and he might get upset. He's 78 years old. This is bizarre. He knows everything about Taylor Swift. He knows the lyrics to her songs. He knows when she's going to be at a Kansas City Chiefs game. And Travis Kelce is God. And it's like, I'm looking at him like, 78, and this is what you got. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? I mean, even for a minute. It's like, if you were like being facetious, that would be amazing. But you seem genuinely interested in this young woman. Like genuinely, like you are on the Taylor Swift team. Hey, I think I've never actually heard one of her songs. I know my daughter Maya likes it, and I know that she uses some lyrics to send some jabs out when she needs to.
I bet you know more Taylor Swift songs than you. Just in walking through society, they blast it over intercoms all the time, and you just don't even know it. I'll point one out next time we come across one in the wild.
It's like, hey, if that's what society wants to follow, I mean, a good chunk of them, have at it. That's your business. And it's weird because I kind of feel like I'm an outsider in a lot of things because I'm not really here to tell, to say, hey, we need to stop doing these things. I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is how do you become more aligned with life so you can have it more abundantly? Like I want more access to knowledge. I want more access to wisdom, to intelligence, to life force, to energy, to something that, I don't feel like I'm decaying as I get older. That I feel like, yeah, my body might not be what it was. It surely isn't. But the thing looking out of the eyeballs is sharp and potent, right? Regardless of what the body's doing. That's always been my interest. I've never really been interested in anything else. Hobbies and stuff, I don't really have any. To me, it's like my hobby is I'm going to pierce this goddamn veil no matter how hard it is and how dangerous it is. And not realizing over the last few weeks that I'm in the danger zone with it because I'm starting to see bigger things coming at me. Inevitably. And it's not like for the world. No, it's for me because I'm being courageous to really examine things at the deepest of levels within myself and to allow myself to be as uncomfortable as possible if that's what's called for. And to really be present in it and to still be gracious in it and to pay attention to what the soul is trying to tell me and all of that. Right? Which to me, I think that takes a lot of courage, honestly, to really go in there, to not take a pill, to not go get a drink, to not go chase sex, to not go, find something to distract me from all this pain, to just sit in it. And I know what it is. Everybody, when people see me, like, do we need to take you to the hospital? It's like, no. I know what this is, right? And it's that getting them fucking claws out of you. Because, there's been many times where I thought, oh, I get it now. Only that what I thought I understood was just more hoodwinking. Fooled again and again and again and again and again. To where, okay, I'm not going to bother looking for answers anymore because that's how I get fooled, thinking there is one. There is a way of behavior that keeps you in alignment with what always has been, always will be, and is bright fucking now. Right? The thing looking out of your eyeballs, it's doing it right now. How much identity is in the way for you to recognize that? How much despair, worry, doubt, fear, jealousy, remorse, slothfulness, whatever. How much of that's in the way of you recognizing that the very thing that is creating the universe is looking out of your eyeballs right now? Can you touch that? Can you experience that? Can you feel that? Can you sense the intelligence level go up with the acknowledgement of that? Can you sense your ability to have strength in all places? How much stronger that is when you're in connection to that. Understand what I mean? Because that's what carries you. It is the hardest thing to discover and maintain. Because you can discover it and still have tons of fucking faults in you. To maintain it, you're going to have to purge those faults. And you'll find those faults are deeply, deeply tied to how you might have been programmed as a child, how you might have been abused as a child, or what fucking mask you decided to wear because you were so sure that what you wore sucked. That's a big one for a lot of people. The fact that they weren't really recognized and noticed as a youth makes them put on a fucking costume and go dance. Well, that costume is met with acceptance. Therefore, they become the costume. No longer the giggling little baby who's just happy being alive in the world. Stuff some gross fucking baby food in my mouth. I'm fine. I'm just la 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 la. And then when I have to poop, I cry. Or when I get, oh, what is that? You a little crying. It's the minute we have to develop an identity to get acceptance, you lose all that innocence. Now there's an agenda with you. Now you have this plan. You have this vision board. You have all this shit, right? Without actually recognizing what's alive inside of you and what intentions that actually has, regardless of what you want, right? So it takes somebody who will give up what they desire for ultimately what they need, right? And that will be different for everybody. For me, what I need is energetic presence, a connection to the vast intelligence of the universe, a good relationship with what's looking out of my eyeballs, animating me, beating my heart. In the air I'm breathing, that becomes me. To have the best relationship with that I possibly can, as clear as fucking possible. Right? And do I live up to that? Rarely. But that doesn't matter. It's for me. Right? And that's true for every other individual. It's when you need someone to accept your reality as theirs. That's a problem. And I have gone through the phases of that, of just, you got to stop doing this and be real adamant about it. And never understanding this person has no fucking possibility for that right now. This thing you're demanding of them, they have no possibility for that right now. So it's going through your own suffering and realizing how difficult it is how you begin to have compassion for another. Because you get to see where they're at, and it's not time to intervene just yet. They've got to go a little further with it because you did. I mean, ultimately, we're all the same. Ultimately, every single person is the same. We're expressed differently in physicality, for sure. But, you take the bodies away from everybody, what you're going to see is just a bunch of masses of energy that all look pretty much the same. It's the reality of it. Right? So only through the depth of your own choosing to go through your suffering can you actually identify it in anyone else. Or have enough courage to stand there and help a minute, knowing that you could be the target for all their rage in the midst of helping them. There's been many times where I've gone to help somebody, knowing full well that at some point I'm going to be the target of all their rage, all their anger, all their resentment, all their fear. And it's happened. Like one guy's like, I want to punch you. I'm like, I just went, hey man, if that's what you got to do. He couldn't. I mean, no one actually really could come at me with violence, because I think ultimately you recognize I'm asking you to look at your deeper wound, right? You really want to do this for real. Well, in order to progress, you got to have some fertile ground, and that fertile ground is the shifting of behavior, the understanding what your will is. And how do you do that? By throwing it in things that you ought not to for a while and paying attention to how that makes you feel, right? And then, you get to that point where you start to value well-being, because it sucks to not feel good. And then you start really, really, it's not like, oh, I must have ate something. Well, of course, that's where you're going to go first, because it's indigestion. It's always in the stomach where it hurts, right? Where the pain radiates from. But it might not be that. It might be the way you talk to that person. It might be the amount of pent-up energy you've got in an organ that's just going, what the fuck are you doing to me? I feel like I'm in a microwave, and it's affecting the rest of your system. You just don't know. Right? So you have to get to that place where you understand what your will is. Right? It's you giving permission to things in life. In a lot of ways. Right? If you had your will, yours, free, any thought that came in to take you down, you have the will to not think it. A lot of people don't have that. They have not developed will yet. They're taken down by everything. Every fucking little calamity takes them to the fucking curb. They play victim, 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 because that's what keeps that happening. The more you are a victim, the more you will be victimized. Why? Because you're weak. Of course, there's always going to be a perpetrator that seeks out the weak. Duh. You know, kind of how those things go. That's probably a dog at the door. Huh?
I think Wally's up there.
Wally's scratching at the door like
Wally's
a dog.
trying to wrangle the dogs.
Scratching at the door like a dog. You know, but to have, it will always be, you know, and there's times where I feel lost as can be. There's no doubt. Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you find yourself in the wilderness. Where the hell am I? Psychologically, mentally, emotionally, physically, cosmically, spiritually, like, I'm in the great wilderness. Right? Fine. Nothing wrong with that. Right? It just means pay attention. That's all it means. If you pay attention, then what do you pay attention to? Well, paying attention? It's a price. You're paying a price, right? Your attention, that's the price. Your life force. What has enough value for you to give attention to? If attention is your life force, well, what in this world? What about life has enough value that's where you that? What's the thing that has the most value? Where should you put the most attention? On what you're going to do in life or life itself and what it's doing? You're in it, yes. You are definitely a player in it, yeah. But what is it doing? Maybe mimic that, right? Maybe try to align with that, what it's doing. Right now, I think it's getting ready to slap the shit out of humanity, honestly. Which I think we all kind of deserve it. I think I even deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm not self-righteous enough to think that I've escaped the punishment of the great Lord, creator of the universe. I think I'm going to get pretty fucking smacked because I'm an obstinate one. I always
the
say.
universal smackdown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm a foul-mouthed, like kind of a. Let's just say I tease people a lot.
You
do you? Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
Wow.
Pip knows.
Never would have guessed that.
Well, it's just part of who I am. Take it or leave it.
Well, I think
it's endearing. Personally.
I think the best way to bring down tyranny is to ridicule, and so then
don't be a tyrant to yourself, and I won't have to tease you.
Yeah, it's just
right. I mean, that really is a hard thing to see, people being tyrannical to themselves. It's like, oh God, that's so easy to do, and just watching them just making it look so simple. To just hurt yourself so much. It's like, oh my God, and to be able to like, okay, you do that. I'm just gonna step over here and watch you cut yourself. If that's what you want to do. What the hell? Cut yourself up on pieces and lay it out on the table and feel all scrambled and discombobulated. It's like, I guess there's a purpose in that, in this self-analyzing. There's a point to it, I'm sure. I mean, I know I've done it in the past. Yeah, I don't find any value in that anymore. Because ultimately it doesn't change behavior at all. It just builds this kind of way to justify everything. Right? All your stuff, all the reasons you feel the way you do. To me, it's like, stop looking for justifications to feel life. It's the only thing that has value. So just be with it. It's way simpler than the fact that the world's so complicated makes it difficult, and everybody wants to pile up all this ancient civilizations and the stars are this way, and when this star is there, that's when Nibiru comes. I mean, all this shit. It's like, shut the fuck up. You're just afraid of you're just afraid of what's inside of you. Right? It's like, that's the true exploration. The universe you're supposed to explore is called you. And you, the identity that thinks it's acting in the world, it's actually a passenger on this thing called life. It has no idea where it's going. It can jump off and pretend it's somewhere. You can have a, what would you call it? A simulation over here. And you can jump in that bubble, in that simulation, and you can live in that. To where, you can live in like an art bubble where it's all about art. Or you can be in a dance bubble where it's all about movement. Or you can be in this bubble or that bubble or this bubble or that bubble. And just kind of be a little glob in that bubble. But the world is outside of the bubbles, right? Because you have to project your energy into them. The only thing you were meant to explore is internally, right? And to express that to the world. What are you smiling about? You're just smiling like a thief who hasn't been caught yet. That's good. I'm glad you're in a good mood. You got this emanation coming off of you. Haven't seen that in a few days.
No.
It's nice to see.
I don't know why it's different.
Hey, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to roll with it.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need answers. You need information. Don't take information as answers. Take it as probabilities, possibilities. Right? Kind of try to keep your life in a state of constant possibility. Not anything solid. That's not really what you should be doing as a human being.
I don't like making plans.
No, me neither, because they always get wrecked. And I make plans about things I don't want to do when it comes time to do them. So there's just no point in doing that. Right? But it's a different way of living to follow your own soul. Because you have to defer to it. That whatever it is you want going on, whatever it is you think you're about and that you're working towards, if the soul comes in, it's time to move on. You have to. Otherwise, you'll find that if you don't, whatever it is you're doing gets dead. And it just doesn't have the vigor in it. And then you're just doing it out of habit and out of this feeling of security. And that security comes from the comfort that you know it's going to happen with everything you do. It's very hard to take a step out where you don't know what's going to happen. It's like why people should travel. Because, you have your idea about what going to India is like. Oh, it's going to be so amazing. We're going to go to this ashram. Yeah, you're gonna land in Mumbai, and you're gonna see shit that is not part of your culture. That's gonna freak you the fuck out, and you're gonna feel real tense for a while before you get comfortable in your ashram out there in the middle of the woods in India. Right? You're gonna go to the pyramids, yeah, and you're gonna land in Cairo and see what that's all about. You know what I mean? It's like they're not gonna adhere to your American ways. There are some places where you can go in as this kind of default American that just doesn't, wants to just, be led around and have your shit handed to you.
I remember the first time I went out of country and I was a kid. I went to Cancun. Cancun's really nice, right? You're in the resort. You're in a little bubble, right? Then we went to Cozumel Island, and I was about like 8. And I saw this dog walk past me with just its whole side was just, gone with just blood, and it was just covered in ants, just walking down the street. No one paying a batted eye, and I was just like,
shocking.
It kind of traumatized me a little bit as a kid. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, that's a hard thing, like going to Peru, and seeing mangy dogs, seeing, when we went to Iquitos, that's the place where the rubber barons were at. Mm-hmm. So you would go around, you see old people missing an arm, big old scar down their face, and
there's a guy in Pacalpa.
Why that is?
There's a guy in Pacalpa with no arms and no legs in the downtown. You see quite a bit.
Yeah, with the boombox going.
Yeah,
it's just doing the thing on the side of the street. Yeah. And and some of them, I mean, not all of them, but definitely the older ones, they were slaves to the rubber company, and when they didn't get the rubber, that arm came off. And you look in their eyes, knowing that happened to them. And here they are trying to make a living on the streets of Iquitos, which is. It's third world. Let's just face it. That's really third world. And seeing the struggle and all that. And here you come from this opulence in America where your biggest, inconvenience is traffic. Right? Or, your coffee's not being served soon enough. Well, it takes so long. And, it's like it really puts into perspective that, Americans are some whiny motherfuckers about nothing. Really about nothing. You're in the safest place ever.
Yeah, we'll complain
and the most dangerous place at the same time.
Yeah, because it's the safest place.
We'll complain about
safe for everybody, right?
We'll complain about things being so difficult, but it's really not. No. I mean, it's all, I guess,
it's all a matter of perspective.
It's how you
and again, it's also a matter of, what can you handle?
Yeah,
because I can go down to Peru and see all that. I can see the nefarious things people do. You know, like the old man with the young girl. You're like, what the fuck is that? I mean, she's 14. You're 55. What the fuck are you doing? You know, and that thought does cross my mind. There are guys that I'll see on the street, like the one that was putting his tongue out to Angela when she walked by, real snaky. And I just went up and I just stared him down. You know, it's like, but that's dangerous because the shit that can go down there, and you know, you don't know that area like they do.
You don't know who has friends and where they are and what they're doing.
Yeah, whether they're scoping you out or not. You know, Italy was the same way. You know, you go to Rome, well, that's a dangerous place. I mean, you know, you stay among the groups of people and you stay on the tours, you're fairly safe. But you go wandering in the neighborhoods, man, they see you as a prey, you know, in some places. And that's true in a lot of places, you know. So we think, we're going to go there and enjoy this big vacation. Well, sometimes, sometimes it goes your way, and sometimes you find yourself in an environment you're not used to. And, you know, you are misunderstanding the kind of struggle this person you're looking at is actually in, and where they might be in their state of despair as opposed to you. And they may pull things you would not see go on in this country all that often, right? I mean, even the bad things going on in this country, it's still out of the hundreds of millions of interactions a day. That's still a minor occurrence. As much as the news blows it up, it's not as prevalent as one might think. The mental illness is definitely obvious. That, I mean, any street corner anymore, there's someone there who definitely is not all there in some fashion. You know, you see him moseying to the grocery store, just completely discombobulated. I've been seeing a lot more of that.
There's even a large amount of just Americans that are on some sort of pharmaceutical for mental health. It's like
SSRIs.
55 million, 60 million.
That's crazy.
Yeah, just to feel better. I mean, you just think about that you're letting someone else decide how you're going to come to your own well-being. I mean, even therapists, not that I'm against it, you know, people need it, I get it. I'll never go. Right? It's like, I just need to identify the truth inside of myself. Well, you know, sometimes it's good to bounce that off somebody else. Yeah, but that's not authentic. I can purge my feelings from their presence. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to do it from my own being. Right? I want to stop being afraid of me and what that is, and the part of me that's confusing to the identity. Right? Because there's you see it all the time. There's aspects of your being that your identity just can't fathom, and it gets real discombobulated when it can't figure it out. Like, God, I don't know why I'm feeling. I don't know why I'm feeling this way. I don't even know what it is I'm feeling. I don't know what this is. You know, you should. That's you. Right? And if you avoid it, it's going to feel like an attack. So you could be attacking yourself and thinking it's the world doing it. No, that could be you doing that. That could be your identity attacking your soul, because your soul is showing this to you so you can get past this kind of weakness it pulls up at you to see it. I mean, because if things go down the way the elders said they would go down, you're going to want to be able to be, I wouldn't say thick, cold, resilient. You'll have to be able to see something very, very traumatizing and be able to instantaneously go through that, purge that, say whatever you have to say to it, acknowledge it anyway, and go continue. Become resilient. Don't let these things hold you down, because, you know, it's the time for humans. You got to stand up. Even when you get knocked down, you got to stand back up again. You know, don't take this posture of laying on the ground in fetal position. That is not going to help. It's going to make it worse, because then something's going to stand you up one day, and you know you're going to feel the pain of not doing that on your own. You know what I mean? And I really, it's hard to talk about this because it's not where everybody's at in the whole spiritual realm, right? It's a lot of that's love and light, and you know, ecstatic dance, and do some ketamine and therapy, and we're all going to get together and cuddle puddle and have a group healing session where we all touch each other. You know, it's like again, hey, if that helps you, great. But I don't think that builds the resilience for what we might be facing as a species.
The resilience is the broadening of the shoulders to be able to handle more. And the more you can handle, then the more you can handle. And that's the path.
Mm-hmm. And a simple start could be, okay, you want to develop some discipline? That thing you do all the time that might be making you fat or just kind of hazy, just say no to it.
Mm-hmm.
Start there. Just try to say no to something. Try to see if you can handle discomfort. Because, you're going to be forced to do it eventually. So if you have a better handle on it, you have a resilience when under pressure, you'll do all right. Because, no matter how lost you can get, how scared you can get, how, valueless life can look to you, if you persevere, your awareness comes back that, yes, life does have value. And life is important. And you should have a good relationship with it. You should have a good relationship with what's making you, what's making the trees, what's making the dogs. And it's like to be able to be of service when it's necessary and not forcing service on it because you feel it's necessary. It's a different thing.
That's a different thing. That's trying to fill the hole within yourself from the outside world is always going to be a losing battle. And that's with desires, those things that you think, oh, that'll make me feel better.
Yeah,
and it's find that well-being within that you are, engendering that strength from within. And it's usually by saying no to those desires.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely a virus affecting people.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them are very sure of their opinion of things, their stance. And it's like,
don't be so sure.
Don't you see how much energy you're dumping into feeling this ick? It's like, that's enough. It's like, it's kind of like, with the Fifth Element, when you shoot the ball, it just gets bigger. So when the ick is presented to you on your social media and you stand up and go, ick, you're just adding to it. You're just adding more fucking boring bullshit to the fucking world. It's like, come on, let's stop this. Yeah.
Or thinking we need more. This is the other day I was I had a thought, and it's like, someone gave you $100 million, right? What would you do? You'd probably, buy a new house, a car, get a new job, new career, something like that. And then what, right? Well, you'd probably live your life, right? So right now, you do have a car and a house and food in your belly probably. You just convince yourself that what you have right now is inadequate.
Right.
It's like, I don't know.
Well, there's different needs in different people. And if you're not really in tune with the universe inside of you, the thing looking out of your eyeballs that you call you in its grandest scale, if you're not, if that's not your trajectory, that's not where your will is at to really explore that and the consciousness and the ability to perceive and the ability to feel and energies and the whole thing, then that's all you got.
Yeah.
Right? All you got is the house and the car and this idea of more of better car, bigger house.
Well, people use those things to hide. It's like, I meet people and they'd be like, the first thing I want to tell you is who they know. It's like, oh, I know this DJ. I met him one time. That's like their highlight of their life. It's like that's what they're trying to entice you with because without that, what are you? You ain't got nothing,
I always called that the Wookiee environment. It's right. It's all these Wookiees. They're kind of unkempt, hippie-like, but really hey man, and they can never express anything really about themselves because there's nothing going on. But what they express is, dude, I'm connected to this guy. I know that guy. Yeah, I know that guy. And if you mention someone, they know him. And so it's all this. The attention they're getting is they're trying to foment is the attention they get from how many people they're connected to, which doesn't say anything about them at all. And you don't know that person. Well, you know that they might be connected to all these other people, but do you know how they behave? No, not at all. You have no idea what they're doing, and they're the couch surfers.
Yeah.
Right? The spiritual new age guys that, are a little unkempt and float around and they're constantly tripping on something and they don't really hold down jobs. They say that they're going to, I'm here to protect women, but they're the first one to seduce one. And go live on her couch and never pay the bills. And while he sits there and does whatever he wants while she's at work. I've seen this over and over and over, especially in the more people that are like spiritual, seeking something spiritual. Not that they're doing that work, but they're in that seeking phase. They're kind of window shopping. I've seen a lot of those women get caught up with these guys that put on this really great presentation of how spiritual they are, and compassionate and understanding, and how balanced their feminine is. And then I don't have a place to live. Well, you can live with me because you're my boy. You're my guy now. And he just takes full advantage of her. Full advantage. And they end up broken. And this guy just goes on to the next victim. I mean, I had a friend I wouldn't call him a friend. I had someone like that in my life for 12 years. I watched him do it. Right. And, I had to come to terms with, I'm not condoning this. And me not doing anything about it is kind of, in a way, condoning it. Yeah. So I just called it out for what it was. And boy, they did not like that. It's like, no. You are a predator. That's what you are. You're a predator. You're a fucking advantage seeker. You will steal if you feel like if you deserve something you haven't worked for, you'll steal it. I'm not going to name names because, not yet. One day I might. We'll just see where all this goes. Right.
We'll see.
Yeah. Because, I like divine justice, even if you have to be the deliverer of such things at times. Hey. You never know. Timing is everything.
Go with the flow and see.
Go with the flow. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to be kind.
There you go. That's a nice cup.
Uh-huh. I haven't been, it's like, I've kind of looked at that. It's like, maybe you should be a little more compassionate to people.
Only if it's called for.
But you know what? And then I went, no. No.
Sometimes it's called for, but not always. Not by default.
How can I let you off the hook for something you're doing to yourself?
And letting off the hook, that can come in a lot of forms, too.
I watch anybody who's kind of done, wronged me in my life. They were wronging themselves far more than me. All they did was inconvenience me. They're the destructive one. Yeah. So it's like, okay. So, how... It's like I can forgive you for what you did to me, but is it for me to forgive you for what you've done to yourself? That's your fucking business.
Well, I mean, if they're doing it to themselves... and you care about them, wouldn't you call that out?
Well,
wouldn't you say something?
If you want to deal with, what that is, because usually you're going to have some kind of conflict. It's the whole thing that, it's like I remember seeing a coyote in a trap, caught up, right, in a trap. Still alive, leg not broken, but definitely can't get out. So I go up to it to help it. First thing it does is tries to attack me. That's the first thing it does. Try to bite me, growl and snarl. I had to sit there with it for quite a while and talk to it. Like, you need my help. You ain't getting out of that on your own. When are you going to be done gnashing your teeth? When is it going to be okay enough for me to get the strap off you? Now, if you've trapped yourself and you're one of those people that feel called to help someone in that, you got to know that when the first thing you do, when you look at a friend and go, what the fuck are you doing? When you call them out, what are you doing to yourself? First thing you're probably going to get is a lot of anger your way.
Yeah.
Their frustration will be taken out on you. You will have to hear them raise their voice and whine like dogs for a while. And then you'll start pointing things out to them. They're going to get shaky. They're not going to want to accept it. They might even tell you to fuck off. You don't know me. You have to be able to sit through all of that without reacting to it. Without going, fuck you, No, you stay. If you're going to be of service to someone, you have to stay in what's genuinely you to do that. And what's genuinely you, well, definitely not the identity that thinks it can help. The times that I thought I could help and I tried and put myself into it, didn't work out. The times when someone just needed help and it just kind of showed up to do it, that went great. It's when I felt like I should help. That was not a good idea. And just in the place and the timing was right and I was told to help, I help. That goes well. But when I plan it like, I really need to help. Anybody I've said I really need to help that person, I haven't helped them one fucking bit. Not at all.
You're like interfering at that point.
Yeah, it's almost like you're interfering because what they need to do is look at they need to come to terms with what's looking out of their eyeballs. There's a whole infinite universe looking out of the eyeballs that you're going to have to reconcile your fear of, that you're going to have to come into harmony with, that you're going to have to be able to understand what aspect of you, what it is that is you, that is that, and listen to it. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Or is that just confusing?
No, that makes sense.
I mean,
it makes sense to me, but I can't speak for other people.
Yeah, I mean, is the soul going to come up and sit you down and go, "Hey, motherfucker"? Not usually.
It can be like that.
It can be like that. Yes, it can definitely be like that. I mean, I've wondered if the guy standing in front of me is me slapping me in the face. But that's not an experience most people are going to have. But to be able to like get comfortable in the winds of your own universe. Because it's, the only frontier there ever was consciousness. That's it. There is no other frontier. Not one that will continue to be a frontier. Right? And what is it? Well, that's you. That's me. That's everyone. That's everything that breathes and drinks water and emanates something or poops. Sleeps, poops, walks. That's it. Right? And that life force inside of those things, inside of you, there's nothing you can say about it. Not really. You can talk about it. You can give it aspects. You can give it human, descriptions. But inevitably, it's none of that. Right? It's an ability to arrive at a place where you feel strong, courageous, intelligent, wise as you can be, attentive, right? Aware, and know where your will is. And know when people are trying to pull your will in some direction that isn't for you. Right? And be able to say, no, not have to placate them and please them and do what they want you to do so you can have that connection. The connection you need is the one with yourself. Right? If that's good, well, that will extend out. You'll have good relations with others. Right? Otherwise, you're just going to have a big fucking play going on that's fake as fuck. That no one actually really cares about each other. Not as much as they say they do. Oh, girl, praying for you. I need prayers. My life is in shambles right now. Praying for you. Click there. That's the extent of the tension on your problem that someone's going to give you. 95% of the people don't give a shit about what problems you have going on. Not really. And they're kind of disturbed when you talk about them.
Because it's bringing up their problems. And they don't want to hear it.
Recognize, like, fuck, I got it myself. Yeah. And to be able to willingly, with your will, right? I think that's really what the universe looks for. Will you engage the harder aspects of discovering who you are with your will? Instead of being forced or pushed or only doing it when you feel like you're about to fucking die if you don't. Right? Do you have to be coerced into understanding yourself? Or can you do that willingly? Right? Do you have to have the house burned down before you recognize what's going on? Or can you just apply your will to your own soul? Your soul will tell you, that's fucked up, that's fucked up, that's fucked up. Don't do that. Stop doing that. Why'd you do that? Right? And it's going to want answers from you. Right? But those answers won't come that you talk to it in English. It will come with a letting go of the tension of all this pent up negativity in you. And when you release that, there's like space in you to receive something much more profound, much more divine, much more freeing, and much more capable of helping you sustain energetic presence and well-being. Is anyone going to take that seriously? I don't know. That I don't know. It remains to be seen. I mean, if I go through the social media and I look at what people are posting, it's like, you're not taking any of this seriously. Most of it, it's not serious. It's a sales pitch. We're going to teach How are you doing, you lovely souls? Just checking in to see how you're doing. We're building 13 healing centers across the planet. Fuck off. What the fuck do you think you're going to do? It's like if you would put all that attention in discovering who you were, you'd find that it's a waste of fucking time. You know, have one place that people can come to fucking unravel, right? To be able to have some time away from their world to see if that world is even valuable to them anymore. And stop there. You know, you don't need to be putting in $250,000 fountains in fucking, $10,000 hammocks to have copper and amethyst in them so you can have your chakras lit up. It's not what people, I mean, maybe some people need that.
I got to try one of those hammocks, though.
Is that a Tesla hammock? What is that?
It's how serious do you take the journey you're on? How much do you defer to what's looking out of your eyeballs? How much silence can you come across inside of yourself and focus that with your will and attention to listen to what that energetic vibration is? And how do you hammer that out into something useful for you? Something that carries you into your evolution, that turns that evolutionary pressure into something quite vibrant and real and worth having. Right? Because most people just get overwhelmed by the pressure and give up. They come back, they give up. I mean, I see it all the time. Right? It's like, ugh. So, obviously, what I'm speaking of is not for everybody. It's probably not even for 1%. Not really. Because, it's really, do look at yourself. Look at what motivates you. Look why you do what you do. Really pay attention. Why do you have anxiety? Why do you have anxiety? Why does you let that creep in? Why do you let that heaviness of the world cause you to sigh like a fucking elephant taking a shit? What's got you crawling on hands and knees? Those are important things. What's got you fighting with the person you say you love? What's got you being impatient with things that in other times you're not? Right? I mean, there's got to be a lot of relinquishing this idea of control over ourselves. Because if you give the identity control over yourself, you're going to make a mess of it. You won't post that on Facebook, for sure, but you will be making a mess of it. Right? Perfect example. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. I know a person who is having very much a lot of difficulty with their significant other, right? The one they're married to. And it's a shit show. It's like, what the fuck? But it's the anniversary. So we're going to pretend it's all fucking great and everything is on the up and up. And this love is real and not disrespected by the other. That is, so we're all getting these impressions of each other that aren't real. And I see it all the time. It's, you watch how someone acts and then they go post something on Facebook. It's like, that shit don't match, man. No, what you're presenting to people is not what you are. I know one guy, same guy that was a friend for 12 years. He sat here at our house and he did a Me Too video.
Oh, that's right.
It's like, dude, you are so a fucking attention whore. It's like, why do you need to be doing that? Besides, this is for the women, not for the men. But you want to participate because I protect women. No, you don't. You stalk them, you use them, and when you're done using them, you toss them out and you go get yourself another one. The minute anyone asks you for the truth or starts to see the truth about you, you fucking dump them and create all this havoc around why, and then you go pick up another one. That's a lot of the behaviors we're seeing, and in the meantime, this person is a Reiki master. He's going to get the demon off you. It's like, holy fuck, what are you talking about? If you haven't cleaned up your own behavior, the only thing you're doing is putting your shit on someone else, right? You're lessening your fear by putting, some kind of expectation on another. It doesn't work. I've tried it. It doesn't work. Be honest with yourself. Right? If, oh my God, the darkness is closing in around me. Well, then ask for some light. Don't ask for the darkness to be removed. Ask for some light. You're in it for a reason. Now pay attention. Maybe the light, if you ask for it, maybe something will be lit up and you'll take notice of something that could be pretty easy to handle once you finally see it. That could be totally screwing your life up. But you won't know if you don't look. And where do you look? Inside that universe. It's big. It might be hiding in a nebula somewhere in you. You don't know. Right? There, you got to get over some things first before you can really explore that for real and explore the different relationships you have in that state. Because you have a lot. More than you would ever imagine. There are more awarenesses focused on you than you could ever imagine. And focused through you than you probably could even imagine. But we have to get over this fear of being a being. Right? We're making idols of ourselves. This thing to be worshipped, to be paid attention to. I went to Europe yesterday. This is what happened. It's like there's people that post it every fucking second of their day. Yeah, a taxi man just dropped me off. He didn't smile at me. Like, what the fuck? Why do you think anyone cares about that? It's just, they don't. They just don't. Nobody actually cares as much as you think they do. They just don't. Right? They don't have room for that. They have room for paying attention and appeasing and pretending they're interested. Plenty of room for that. But actual interest, only those who have taken interest in the way they behave to me, are interesting people. Right? The ones that just put on the play and they're wearing the robes and doing their thing, fuck whatever. I want to see a genuine human being that is fighting this struggle to be difficult. Someone who's genuinely honest. That, yeah, I'm trying to juggle all this shit and it just fucking won't fit together. It's like a Rubik's Cube that's, impossible to fucking get right. Yeah, so be it. But there has to be a reliance on the soul. I've been telling everybody this for a long time. Sometimes you just got to shut up and listen. Well, what am I going to listen to? Don't choose. Let your will go into silence. Focus on what's looking out of your eyeballs. It's called the life pulsing through you. It should be pretty easy to recognize and identify. Let it just do its thing. And if it goes into a place that feels like you're about to have a fit or it's very uncomfortable, just fucking breathe and take it. Because the thing that's going to purify your identity is your soul. And it might not be that nice to you because you might not have been that nice to it. So the healing it gives you could be quite excruciatingly painful. Emotionally, mentally, hell, even physically. You have to be able to sit through that. The identity is going to be just reaching for whatever lifeline it can. It's going to be drowning in all that and being quite afraid. You have to watch it be afraid. You can't be afraid with it. Because the minute you do that, you're the identity again. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you sit and you watch it be afraid. It's not that you disassociate. It's not even that you disconnect. You take a different position in that frequency than the freaked out identity. Take the one as observing presence. And then you just watch what happens to the identity. Right? You can dust it off later. Right? You can give it a cup of milk and a cookie and lay it down to rest. But let it take its beating, if that makes any sense. Because it deserves one. It's been basically treating the soul like property. It's not real. You are the beloved gift of the soul. Fucking start acting like it. And does that mean love and light? No, sometimes you got to be the hard ass in the room. You got to be the voice of justice. You've got to be the voice of fairness. Like when you watch someone being victimized, you got to do something about that. If it's your call to do something about it, you do something about it. You don't second guess that. It creates more bravery for you to face what's in you too. Right? I've told you guys about the episodes with gang members and the shit that I've had to endure, you can get through it. There are ways through it that are nonviolent. There are things that you can get over if you just take a breath. And if you're going to be afraid, just watch yourself being afraid, but don't give in to it. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's what courage is.
Yeah, courage doesn't come... You don't get the courage before the brave act. You get the courage because of the brave act. You get the courage. Courage isn't without fear. Courage is with fear, and you do it anyway. Mm-hmm. And you do the best right thing you can think of at that time, or that you can conjure up within yourself at that time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The greatest amount of maturity, because really that's where it all goes to, is responsibility for self.
Yeah. So, always try to save enough attention to recognize that the creator of all universes is animating you right now. See how much you can be right now. How much of your attention, your awareness, your will, your presence can you bring to right now? And now you're with life. Si, senor. Yeah, see? Now that's being with life. Notice how it glows? I'm here to remind you. That's all. What are you doing with what's looking out of your eyeballs? Are you giving that to the identity and letting it beat you up, you dummy? Dummy. Anyway, I'm out of words.
No way.
Well, no, not really. But I don't.
But for tonight, perhaps that's enough.
Any reflections on our conversation this evening?
I think, what I already said earlier.
Do you know what you do when you find yourself off your trajectory? You reassert yourself on the trajectory.
Yeah.
You don't spend any time going, shit, I jumped off. No, get back on. The minute you realize you're off, get back on. Yeah, it's going to take some time. It's like, if you don't drink water regularly, you ever had this where you ever had water for a while and you go to drink it, it doesn't go in so easy?
Yeah.
But if you drink, you stay hydrated regularly, water just kind of disperses in your body pretty easily. Notice that? Same.
I think the big thing for me is like, you know what you need to do, but you get into trouble when you start to think about it. You try to dissect it, and that's, you run into trouble.
He always wants to take over the command of the soul and call it its own, right? Yeah,
you want to understand things, but sometimes you just don't really.
You start to have a better appreciation when the soul has you doing shit you don't want to do, that you wouldn't be proud of, and is a little bit hard and causes you to be the enemy of some people.
Yeah, I feel like it asks for something, then you do that, and then it asks for more and more, and each thing gets harder and harder, and at a certain point, it's like, God, you're really asking a lot.
Just don't bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah.
Right? Don't be a hungry dog.
What is, someone said something the other day, it was like, cancer is like something growing too fast in your body. Mm-hmm. So like, growing too fast can, if you try to go too fast, that can be like cancer. Sometimes you got to slow down.
The other. Yeah. One step at a time.
1 inch at a time.
1 inch at a time. 2 steps forward, unaware, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. How about very aware, 1 step forward? You've just covered the same amount of distance. Without all the fucking bullshit. Right? Suffer, learn, grow. Suffer, learn, grow. Suffer, learn, grow. Suffer, learn, grow. Suffer some more, learn some more, grow some more. Suffer some more.
It's a great T-shirt idea you got.
Yeah. Suffer, learn, and grow. Instead of live, laugh, and love, suffer, learn, grow. That should be the thing, the placard in all these, middle-aged women, new ager that, they always have the little wooden placards with the little things carved into
You'll be able to buy them next week in our store.
Yeah, live, laugh, love is the big one. Live, laugh, love, bliss. It's like you should make them reality.
Deal with it.
Yeah. And then hang all your bills from that, right? Yeah, and suffer, learn how to live. We'll make those. We're going to put those in our store.
Of course. will be
No,
available
I'm
at a very
gonna see
reasonable price.
if
I can work on it. We can get some.
yeah. Well, it just has to be a simple wood placard that's just suffer, learn, and live,
Grow.
grow,
Live, grow.
evolve. Damn it.
Do something.
Yeah, evolve. Damn it. My
Evolve, damn it.
niece has 2 signs hanging in her bathroom. She is such an eclectic human. It's very interesting, very artsy. One of them says, "Please do not summon demons in the bathroom." And the other one says, "Please do not do coke in the bathroom. That's what the living room's for." I thought that was pretty funny. Her in-laws don't like it. They're a little.
That's part of the
I think
reason
they're a
she
little
does
stiff. Stiff like. There's no such thing as humor. Dad, this is all serious shit. You need to behave right.
Until you're like us, we won't be happy.
Yeah, live and let live. Anyway, we're out. That's episode 66. I hope you enjoyed it. I think this was a pretty good one, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes? Maybe you agree. Go over to Spotify and like it. I just want to see what we can do here.
Yeah.
I promise that we will never have commercials.
Except for Hot Bay.
Except for our stuff. We'll have commercials for our stuff. Right? Once we figure it all out. But I won't ever have a sponsor that I have to answer to.
No, it's just not worth it.
I'm not, again, we're not doing it. That's why we can do this, and just take a few weeks off and just come back. It's like, I'm doing this because I want to, not because I want to earn a bunch of money doing it. I don't care. I just want to see if there's anybody out there listening and going, huh.
Interesting.
And see if they, attempt that. And maybe they're intrigued enough to look us up and try to come for a visit. But don't act desperate because I won't answer.
Anyway.
Don't tell me about all the demons haunting you. That's not the first thing I want to know about you. Your name? Well, that's a good start. All right. Where you live, what you do, the common things. You break the ice that way. Anyway, we'll see you guys later. Have a good night.
Lindos espíritu y luna, de los bosques hallaremos. Ahora llama irune, cuidaremos cuerpo luna. Amiga y nirunaicito, lindos espíritu y luna, de los bosques hallaremos. Ahora llama irune, anay nanay nanay nanay. Da di di da da da. Anay na nay na nay nay na. Da 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 da.